speaker. I'll be reading a short introduction and then we're going to get started. Good morning, beautiful people. Happy Saturday. It is a privilege to introduce Remi Afon, a cybersecurity consultant with deep expertise across AI and ML security, cloud infrastructure, and DevSecOps. He is known for his work by design initiatives and automation across SDLC. Remi has led security efforts in fast-paced IT and financial environments. His session, The African Cybercrime, Inside the Playbooks of Digital Hustlers, dives into the real-world tactics used by cybercriminals and how mentorship and ethical hacking can help redirect that talent. Drawing on his instincts in GoLegit Africa, Remi will share stories from the underground digital economy and present models for rehabilitation, upskilling, and community transformation. Please join me in welcoming Remi Afon.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to be talking about the African cybercrime economy inside the playbooks of digital hustlers. As she has introduced, my name is Remi Afon. I'm the founder of GoLegit Africa, and I'm still going to talk about GoLegit Africa later on. I was the president of Cybersecurity Expert Association of Nigeria, and the talk today is going to be focused on the cybercrime playbooks. I'm going to talk about different scenarios, talk about tactics and techniques, and give real live examples of how they have gone about using those tactics to compromise a lot of people, cause a lot of damages, and what we are doing from the point of view of GoLegit to ensure that we rehabilitate those cyber criminals. So beyond the headlines, there's a different cybercrime landscape. There's always the belief that cybercrime in Africa is kind of imagined, but obviously it has gone to a stage whereby, it's taking the global stage. There are so many factors that are really affecting the cybercrime in Africa. One of the greatest ones is the high level of unemployment. There are limited opportunities for people, especially the youths. Africa has got a very large population of youths, and most of them are unemployed, and they're looking for ways of, breaking into. Some of them want to break into tech, but because of lack of opportunity, they just saw cybercrime as a way out. Then there's this Afrobeat culture, where a lot of people, these Afrobeat musicians show a lot of wealth, so they want to quickly also imitate them and get into that space, get rich quick. Another one is the fact that a lot of people are trying to copy others in terms of when they see someone that's made a lot of money, drive flashy cars, they just want to copy that person. And the only way to do that is to go into cybercrime. So it's no longer 419 scam alone. It's now kind of sophisticated. There's evolving economy with specialized roles and increasing technical attacks. So who are the people involved in terms of digital hustle? At the top, we have the Oga. We call it Oga. Oga means master in Yoruba. Is the financier and the strategist. It's a well-organized and well-established projects that they run. So the Oga is at the top. We've got the techie, and we've got the runner. So at the top, the Oga is not visible to so many of the people at the bottom of the chain and the ladder. And that's why it's quite difficult when they get arrested you may not probably get the Oga at the top, who is the CEO, basically. So the runner is the person that executes the scam. He executes the cybercrime. He also tries as much as possible to recruit a lot of people, and those are the people that he's going to be interfacing with, and those are the ones that get to know him, but they will not know the Oga at the top. Then we have the catcher, who is the money mule. The Oga funds the mule, and then we have the connector as well, who access the dealer. Then we have the corrupt officers, because they have kind of police officers as well that they have to pay and bribe so that they don't get arrested. So it's a kind of chain of cyber criminals, and they are well organized, and it's kind of a big structure. So it's a big network, and the law enforcement agencies are finding it difficult to really penetrate into that network. So in terms of the different tactics, the first one is 419. I know all of us know what 419 is all about, but if you don't know, 419 is a penal code in Nigeria. It's a penal code for trying to kind of obtain money with false pretense. And it's been in existence for a very long time. It's now several years, and it's still that 419 code that we use. So over time, I think one of the largest 419 that happened was Emmanuel Hude. There's a person called Emmanuel Hude in the 90s. He sold a complete airport to a Brazilian bank, millions of dollars, and and there wasn't anything. It was just a fake airport that he sold, and he made millions of dollars from it. I think that was the highest in terms of 419. But in those 419 involves sending letters. In those days, they started with sending letters and getting people to part with their money. But now it's much more than that. It's much more than, the scam is much more than sending letters. It involves sending spear phishing emails, impersonating people, and it can involve having a fabricated invoice, social engineering, get information on the LinkedIn and other OSINT sources. You create fake websites and convince people to make payments. Then you now start moving the money from one place to another. The most recent one, which is closer home, when I say home, I'm talking about America now. It's the one that's happened during the election. The J.D. Vance Trump campaign, fund, when they are trying to raise fund. And someone from Lagos, Nigeria, was able to convince one of the donors to donate about $250,000. But it was very stupid in the sense that the money was paid via cryptocurrency into his Binance account. So because of the know your customer, so they were able to trace that money and be able to apprehend him and get him sent back here to America. So that tells you the level of sophistication, and the 419 has moved beyond just sending letters and trying to convince people to make payments. So I'll give examples of different countries and the kind of cybercrime that is prominent there. M-Pesa, that's in Kenya. In Kenya, there's this mobile payment money. There's a mobile money that is being used, is the most popular one. If you go to Kenya today, you can easily open an account. You just need your ID, and you open a mobile payment account, which is called M-Pesa. So it's quite popular there. But there's a widespread of fraud taking place, which is the smishing, SMS phishing. So a lot of people get text messages for them to make, to click on that link, and once they do that, they hijack and lead them to a fake M-Pesa login page, and they'll be able to steal their PIN, and from there, they'll be able to take over their account. And they can do what we call a SIM swapping, and I'm still going to talk about SIM swapping as well, as one of the scenarios and playbooks. So the criminal use social engineering, to convince mobile operators. They tell them that their account is, their mobile number has an issue, and they should just close that, they should block that SIM, and with that they take over that particular number and be able to carry out a lot of activities. So it's caused a lot of significant losses to individuals and business, but it's quite common in Kenya, and that's one of the topmost form of cybercrime in Kenya. Then, so that's the, I just mentioned this SIM swap. The SIM swap, and it's also common in Ghana. The SIM swap is, they collect your information, your personal information, and make a phone call to the telecommunication company that I need to block my phone number because I've lost my SIM, and with that they ask some questions, and once they get that, you get one-time token, be able to get a new SIM, and with that you create a two-factor authentication and take over this new SIM. And with that, you'll be able to have access to all the banking apps of the person that you have taken over their account, and be able to go into their accounts, change a lot of their passwords, go into their social media accounts, and with that, be able to draw a lot of money from those accounts. And that's a very serious kind of cybercrime. But some countries now, especially Nigeria, is quite difficult now to carry out the SIM swap because you need biometric. If you want to change your SIM, you just have to go to the center, go to the telecommunications center, and be able to verify yourself, via your fingerprints. So other countries are looking at that as well. Then we've got the CEO requests, the business email compromise. That's the highest form of cybercrime in Africa, and it's costing a lot of organizations a lot of money. The cybercriminals are targeting the US and Western Europe. They carry out form of reconnaissance using OSINTs. They gather information about the company executives, the financial processes as well, and with the generative AI, ChatGPT, it's quite easy to draft a kind of email that will look exactly like the language of that particular company, or the language of the country where they are trying to compromise the account of the CEO. So once that is done, they send the request. It's always quite urgent. They tell them to quickly make a transfer of a large sum of money, or they tell them that, okay, we've just changed our account. Sometimes they get all those information, the payment needs to be made to a particular supplier. They claim to be that supplier, they clone the website, and tell them that, oh, we just changed our account details, so this is the new account. And before you know it, the payment is being made, and they start to move the payment from one place to another, which makes it very difficult for law enforcement agents to be able to trace those money. So the process for BiC is the first thing is to identify the targets. It takes a while for them to identify the targets. Then they try to compromise the accounts, send different emails. You call it email blast. So once they're able to compromise one account, then they start moving around within that particular account, try to impersonate the executive or vendor, and from there they request payment, and before you know it, they launder the funds. So another ransomware is also quite common now, actually in South Africa. Unfortunately, they are targeting mostly the hospitals in South Africa, you know. And they also start with sending a phishing email with malicious attachments, and once they are able to penetrate, then they encrypt and start demanding for ransom payments in Bitcoin. South Africa has lost a lot of, especially the hospitals, they've lost a lot of money when it comes to ransomware attack. Then we'll move on to the crypto gold rush. Because a lot of people want to invest, we've seen cyber criminal targeting people in terms of cryptocurrency investment. A good example is the one that recently happened in Nigeria. It's called CBEX. CBEX is a crypto branch exchange. So what really happened, they came into Nigeria last year, and it wasn't actually, they were kind of foreigners, they are not Nigerians, but what they did is recruited people in Nigeria, So like I did mention the Oga. So the person that is in charge, they don't even know him. He just recruited virtually, home working. Okay, we want to open a kind of investment company in Nigeria. They interviewed some people, gave them money. They got buildings, and they also started recruiting other people. So they have a platform, get people to invest in cryptocurrency. Within 90 days, you get 100% return on whatever you invest. So investment is in dollars. You can start with like $200, $500, and so on and so forth. And people started getting 100% return after 3 months, and they started telling others as well that, oh, this is a good investment opportunity. Let's start putting money into this, and then a lot of people put their money into that. So just after about 9 months or so, they now said, oh, it's difficult for you you are having an issue, so you can't withdraw your money. You see the money there, but you can't withdraw it. They said they had an issue, and before you know it, they just disappear into the thin air. So the people that the law enforcement agency arrested were just the people that were recruited working in those offices, and they are not the one that have that initiative. They are not the creator of that platform. So the creator of the platform, they are still at large, and I think over $200 million were lost based on that. A lot of people lost their money based on that kind of investment. So it's quite common, it's there's a cryptocurrency investment. They target a lot of investors across multiple African countries. They promise high return, 100% return in short time. There's aggressive marketing. They use social media influencers to market for them. And by the time they go away with the money, you can't hold those influencers responsible. So it's mostly a fake cryptocurrency exchange and investment platform. The trouble is, people don't learn from that, because obviously We've had a similar one about 3-4 years ago, and people still invest in it. And I'm sure in the next 2-3 years, there's still going to be something like that again in terms of massive one. But we still have some not too big platform where people are kind of trying to invest and they get scammed. Then Seduction is on the rise now. And this is a very sad story of the two brothers, Samuel Ogoshi and Samson. Maybe some of you have heard about that story in Michigan. There's a young person, a 17-year-old in Michigan. Unfortunately, these guys, what they did was they have a kind of Instagram account, and they started chatting with the guy. They create a fake. There are two things. It's either they create fake Instagram account or social media account, or any account of someone that they've hacked, a young female, beautiful girl. They now, pretend to be that person, start chatting with the, unsuspecting teenagers, mostly the age between 17 and 24, and they start chatting with them, and at a point in time, they get them to send their nude pictures, and they now try to blackmail them that if you don't send this amount of money, I'm going to expose you. I've got all your contacts, and that's what they did to this 17-year-old guy in Michigan. They told him that, okay, we've got your, because he thought he was chatting with a lady, and they had a kind of friendship, but not knowing that he was chatting with these two brothers. So they now said, okay, we've got your picture, your nude pictures. If you don't send this amount of money, we've got all the list of your contacts, your followers, your friends. We're going to send it to them. We'll send it to your family. And he begged them, he sent the money. So some of the money, I think about $300 or $400. But he didn't have money. He was just a 17-year-old boy, And he didn't tell the parents. It was just overnight. This thing happened in the night, when they were just pressurizing him to send money, And he said he was so worried that he said he might kill himself. They said, they don't care, you can kill yourself. And unfortunately, he eventually killed himself. So those guys have been arrested now, and which is quite unfortunate because that's the kind of trend that we are seeing now. Extortionists, for young guys trying to kind of exploit other. The target is Western Europe and the USA. So this is quite different from the romance scam. So we've got the romance scam as well, where people create fake accounts. You create fake Facebook accounts, you create fake Instagram accounts, start chatting with people, and form a kind of relationship. And before you know it, you start sending money to them, start scamming them. There was actually a lady that came all the way from the States to meet a scammer, and eventually said she was actually going to marry him, which was kind of strange. So those are the tactics and most common cybercrime that we've got in Africa. So this picture was taken from the Instagram page of Economic and Financial Crime Commission in Nigeria, EFCC. And you could see that we've got a lot of foreign nationals, Chinese, Arabs, Filipinos in Nigeria and some other African countries recruiting people locally. They get a lot of they buy, they pay for buildings, they rent buildings, recruit. Like I said, I mentioned the unemployment, so it's quite easy to convince people to, they think they are applying for legitimate jobs, and they recruit them and start, getting them to carry out cybercrime activities. About 792 suspects were arrested very recently, and about 193 of them were foreign nationals. So that shows you the level of crime that is taking place, and using unsuspecting teenagers and young people to carry out cybercrime. So what are the toolkits? There are common toolkits that are being used. We've got social engineering and reconnaissance tools. We've got the phishing, spoofing, credential harvesting. And all these tools are freely available. Sometimes you go into the dark web to buy tools easily. For example, the ransomware, there's ransomware as a service. They can easily pay token amount of money to carry out ransomware. Then they use a lot of freely available tools as well. Email templates, ChatGPT with AI now. It's quite easy to draft a nice email that is quite convincing. In those days, you can easily spot a phishing email, because sometimes you see this English, it might not be correct, but now you can easily polish your English and get a very good composition of that email that is going to convince people that it's actually coming from a legitimate organization. So fighting back the lot of challenges that we are facing in Africa, there's a limited cybersecurity awareness and lack of training and education in terms of cybersecurity. There's a weak infrastructure. When I was talking about the SIM swap, you can see that there are a lot of loopholes there. There's so many ways that can be blocked, but because of outdated system, inadequate security measures, so it's quite difficult to overcome all these challenges. Then the law enforcement agencies, they lack a capacity. There's limited resources and expertise. Sometimes they use crude methods. For example, if you are going, if you are a young person moving around with your car or your parents' car, they can stop you and go through your phones physically rather than do a kind of threat intelligence to be able to understand those cyber criminals and how they move about. So they kind of use a brute force and those kind of tactics that are not really intelligence led, basically. So there's also corruption. That chart I showed you. Where we have the Oga, and so there are some corrupt police officers that do support them as well. So it's quite difficult for investigation and prosecution, because even if they are apprehended, they can easily bribe their way through. So it's just a matter of, you can imagine someone that just made about $1 million from his cybercrime, and they were about to arrest him, and he said, okay, don't worry, I'm going to give you $50,000, and before they know it, they're just going to allow him to go. So it's quite difficult because of corruption. That hampers investigation and prosecution. So what are the mitigation strategies? The improving cybersecurity awareness. Also, the governments in Africa need to invest more in the security infrastructure. There's a need for international collaboration, and also strengthen the law enforcement capacity. and public-private partnership. And that's where we come in from GoLegit point of view. So what is GoLegit? GoLegit is a cyber initiative that involves rehabilitating cyber criminals. So we want to give people opportunity, because it's quite easy to judge people and say, okay, you're a cyber criminal, but you don't know their story. So what we try to do, why we are not encouraging cybercrime, we just really want to understand what's led them to that particular enterprise. So for those that are willing, we try to work with them, rehabilitate them. Those that have been jailed, those that are yet to be jailed. So I think one of the most difficult aspects of our initiative is some of them are well established in cybercrime, and it's quite difficult to convince them to leave that particular trade, because they've made a lot of money from it. So what is the alternative we are providing for them? That's one of the challenges. So, but for the younger ones that are trying to move into cybercrime, it's quite easy for us to convince them, quite easy for us to start training them to change their ways. So we've got a lot of programs for that. One of the topmost one is rehabilitation. We also carry out research and development. We're trying to understand why people move into cybercrime. One of the most recent research that we did was to interview some of the cybercriminals, know what motivated them to go into cybercrime, and be able to understand that, okay, so for you to leave this crime, what are the things that you think can make you, change your way? So with that, we were able to come up with some initiatives along that line. Then skill development, for those that we managed to convince to leave cybercrime. So we started training them on, programming, web development, and cybersecurity skills, so that they'll be able to get a better career, and live a productive life. Then we were partnering with and collaborating with different organizations. Most recently, we were talking with Meta, and one of our partners is Black in Cyber, which we just had a kind of a partnership with most recently, and we have some other organizations that we are partnering with to ensure that collectively we are able to get cyber criminals to live their way and move on to a better world. And I think that's the best way to tackle cybercrime, rather than just the punitive measures. Why are they into cybercrime? Try to understand that, and as early as possible, catch them young and lead them in the right path. Then, in terms of community support, we have a lot of individuals that are able to share their experience. Those that have gone through that before, they can talk to some other people that are looking in that direction and be able to share their experience with them, and with that, help them in their journey. So job placement assistance is one area that we are looking at as well, to see how, because it's one thing to be converted from cybercrime. What about if you don't get a job? So it's going to be easy for you to go back into the cybercrime. So and that's where we need some international organizations with this remote working available, so that they don't go back into that crime, because once they are rehabilitated, and that's it, no job for them, they will say, okay, I've got no choice, I just have to go back. So job placement assistance is quite key, and that's one of the areas we're looking at. There's a lot of challenges there, but we are working on that. So I think That's you know, if you want to connect with us, that's our details, and here's my details as well. Does anyone have any question, basically? Yeah.
Microphone, the other one?
Okay.
You can ask it.
Thank you. Great presentation. You mentioned the OGA, and I guess they are the leaders of their own kind of cybercrime enterprise or company, if you will. Just in terms of numbers, how many OGAs or cyber criminal organizations are there in Nigeria? It seems like you're focusing on Nigeria and possibly Lagos. How many would you say are in just that kind of general region or area?
There's no particular statistic, but if I'm very correct, we're going to have like thousands. So, mind you, they're not only based in Lagos. You're talking about Nigeria now, right? Or Africa generally. If it's Nigeria, thousands, because they're not only based in Lagos. We have about 36 states in Nigeria, so and each state has got its own, cybercriminal network. But it's just Lagos that's most popular. Lagos, Abuja, but there are still some other states as well, that have got, cybercriminals and that network and orgas. And one thing about the orgas is that it's quite difficult to fish them out because they are reputable members of the society. Some of them are in churches. They are more like, deacons in churches that we think, so it's quite difficult to fish them out,
Thank you.
Thank you for this great presentation. I have two questions that are unrelated to each other. The first one is on where do you think, or where do you know that they're collaborating, they're talking? Like, for example, if you think of the Russian cybercriminal ecosystem, you'd think of dark web forums like Exploit or XSS. Where do they meet online? Do you have an idea? And like also how can you research what they're doing? And my second question is with GoLegit, how does it work? As in, do they usually come to you guys and say, "Oh, I'd like to do something else with my life," or do you try and get people yourself and try to talk to them, and how do you find them as well?
Thank you for that question. So that's a very valid question, and I think that's missing in my presentation. So where do they meet? How do they collaborate? They use Telegram. And I think I was showing some of my colleagues, the cybercrime lords, the Telegram, that's got thousands of people there. And that's why they give them training. They train them how to, they give them, they call it format. So, okay, this is the format you're going to use. It's like a playbook. And you see thousands of people that join that Telegram. And that's how they carry out, activities and collaborate and teach and recruit others as well. Some of them are very audacious in the sense that they have a cybercrime school. You won't believe it, So they rented a building and start training people as if they are trying to learn how to code. So I think about a couple of cybercrime school was kind of brought down by the Nigerian police force most recently. So so that's that. So in terms of your second question regarding they don't come to us, we go to them. So we go to them via the law enforcement agencies. So it's not all the people that are arrested get prosecuted, like I said. So sometimes they just let them go. So we work with the law enforcement agencies to, know those that have just got arrested and try to talk to them. And also we go to schools, secondary schools, universities, because people start this trade from, high school. We call them high school, we call them secondary schools in Nigeria and Africa. So from high school, they start getting involved gradually into cybercrime. So we go to high school and talk to them, and from there we start engaging them, and start getting them to go into the legal part, and start giving them counseling and a kind of a career guide. Thanks. Sorry, like the.
That's better. In comparison, in Southeast Asia, where we know a lot of people who participate in mass cybercrime schemes are coerced or under duress, how much autonomy do you feel that these people have when they enter these environments? Is it just pursuit of economic gain, or is there some level of coercion going on?
Yeah, there's some level of coercion, especially by the foreign nationals that come into Nigeria now. So we are seeing a different pattern. Before, if they are being recruited locally by people from Africa, they are not being coerced; they just willingly join. But with the foreign nationals coming in now, they indirectly coerce them into, so they can't leave. They threaten them, and it becomes difficult for them to report to the law enforcement agencies.
Yeah, I just have a very simple question about the education system. Is the secondary school free to attend?
It's government is a little bit free. So we've got a lot of private secondary school, but primary school, secondary school is free to some extent, but you still have to make some little payments, but not, not completely free, but it's not as expensive as, as expected. So it's been subsidized by government. Thanks. And I think it's mandatory as well. Ideally, it's mandatory to, primary school, secondary schools, they're mandatory for people to go, but we see a lot of people drop out, and it's not being enforced, so, they're not being forced to go to schools. And some people can afford it as well. Any other question? Okay.
Thank you. From the outside, I hear about groups like Black Axe or militia movements. Are those becoming smaller players, and is it more foreign nationals stepping in now, or are those still large players? How do they fit in?
All right, so the Black Acts, and that's, Black Acts, for those who don't know, it's a cult. The Black Acts, and we have so many cults in our institutions. So we have Buccaneers, and so many others as well. But because the Black Acts is quite popular because BBC did a documentary on Black Acts, and that's the reason why they're kind of popular. So what they do is they recruit people within university or higher institutions, and they just recently added cybercrime into their activities. Initially, the objective of black hats and all these secret cults is just to make themselves powerful within the university community or higher institutions. You know, sometimes they carry out some criminal activities like armed robbery and so on and so forth. But now, you know, they do more of cybercrime, and there are still forces to reckon with, you know. But the big players now are the foreign nationals that are coming in. They are coming in with a lot of money. They're coming in with a lot of infrastructure. They're coming in with knowledge, tech, and so on and so forth. And they can recruit a lot of people. So, but the black hats, the secret cults, they're still forced to reckon with. And like I said, the Oga, you know, which can include politicians. I didn't mention that. The Oga can be a politician. The Oga can be a senator. It can be, you know, a House of Assembly member. Most recently, I think one kind of politician, I think is the chairman of a local government in Nigeria, was arrested in the States. You know, the FBI have been looking for him for a very long time. He didn't know. So he mistakenly flew to US and he was quickly apprehended. Thanks. Another question? Oh, is that the last? All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone.